Hello and welcome. Before we dive into the fascinating world of the Maceda law, we would like to clarify something important. This video is intended solely for informational purposes. While we strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information, it should not be considered as legal advice. Always consult with a professional for your specific needs. Real estate transactions can be complex, and the law can vary based on your unique situation. Therefore, any action you take upon the information on this video is strictly at your own risk. We do not assume any responsibility for any losses incurred as a result of the information provided here. Now that we've got that covered, let's dive into understanding the Maceda law and how it safeguards the rights of real estate buyers in the Philippines. Ever wondered about your rights as a real estate buyer if you default on your payments in the Philippines? The answer lies in the Maceda law. The Maceda law, also known as the Realty Installment Buyer Act or Republic Act 6552, may not be a household name, but it's a critical piece of legislation that safeguards the rights of real estate buyers who default on their payments. This law is a veritable shield against onerous and oppressive conditions, offering much-needed reassurance to those who venture into the realm of real estate. The story of the Maceda law begins with lawmaker Ernesto Maceda, a visionary who saw the need for a law that would protect the rights of real estate buyers. His vision became reality on August 26, 1972, when the Maceda law officially took effect. Since then, this law has served as a beacon of hope for countless buyers, guiding them through the often complex world of real estate transactions. The Maceda law is so much more than just a set of rules. It's a declaration of public policy, a bold statement that the rights of real estate buyers are of paramount importance. It covers transactions and contracts involving the sale or financing of real estate on installment payments. This includes residential condominium apartments, house and lot units in subdivision developments, and so much more. But what makes the Maceda law truly special is its purpose. It's not just about regulating transactions or setting guidelines. The Maceda law is about protection. It's about ensuring that buyers of real estate on installment payments aren't left high and dry if they default on their payments. So, whether you're a seasoned real estate investor or a first-time buyer, the Maceda law is a law you need to know. It's a law that has your back, a law that gives you rights and protections you may not even be aware of. Now that we've introduced the Maceda law, let's delve into its sections for a better understanding. The first section of the Maceda law is quite straightforward. It simply states that this piece of legislation shall be known as the Realty Installment Buyer Act. It's a formal way of giving the law its official name and setting the tone for what follows. Next, we have Section 2. This part of the law declares a public policy. Now, what does that mean? It means that it's a principle or course of action that the government has decided is in the best interest of the community. In this case, the policy is to protect buyers of real estate on installment payments against onerous and oppressive conditions. In simpler terms, it's all about safeguarding those who are buying property in installments, ensuring they're not subjected to harsh or unfair conditions. With the foundation laid, let's move on to the practical aspects of the law. Section 3 is where things get interesting, as it details the rights of the buyer. This section applies to transactions or contracts involving the sale or financing of real estate on installment payments. It includes residential condominium apartments, but excludes industrial lots, commercial buildings, and sales to tenants under specific Republic Acts. Now let's dive into the details. If the buyer has paid at least 2 years of installments and then defaults on the payment of succeeding installments, they are entitled to some specific rights. Firstly, the buyer can pay the unpaid installments due within a total grace period earned by them, which is fixed at a rate of 1 month grace period for every 1 year of installment payments made. But remember, this right can only be exercised once in every 5 years of the life of the contract and its extensions, if any. Moving on, if the contract is canceled, the seller has to refund the buyer the cash surrender value of the payments on the property. This is equivalent to 50% of the total payments made. After 5 years of installments, the refund increases by an additional 5% every year, but not exceeding 90% of the total payments made. The actual cancellation of the contract takes place after 30 days from receipt by the buyer of the notice of cancellation or the demand for rescission of the contract by a notarial act, and upon full payment of the cash surrender value to the buyer. Down payments, deposits, or options on the contract are included in the computation of the total number of installment payments made. So, Make sure you take note of that. In a nutshell, Section 3 provides a safety net for buyers who have been consistently paying their installments for at least 2 years. It provides them with a grace period to catch up on their payments and ensures they are refunded a significant portion of their payments if the contract is canceled. Section 3 is crucial as it outlines what happens when a buyer defaults after 2 years of installments. What if the buyer has paid less than 2 years of installments? Section 4 has the answer. Let's delve into this. In cases where less than 2 years of installments were paid, the seller is obligated to give the buyer a grace period of not less than 60 days from the date the installment became due. This grace period provides the buyer with an opportunity to catch up on their payments. However, if the buyer still fails to meet the payment deadline at the expiration of the grace period, the seller then has the right to cancel the contract. But this isn't an abrupt process. The seller must give a 30-day notice of cancellation or demand for rescission of the contract through a notarial act. This gives the buyer a fair warning and an additional window to rectify their default. Even with less than 2 years of payments, the Maceda law ensures some level of protection for the buyer. Sections 5 to 7 expand on the rights of the buyer and the legality of contract stipulations. Diving into Section 5, it details the buyer's right to sell their rights or reinstate their contract. If you're a buyer who's fallen behind on payments during the grace period, you're not left without options. You can choose to sell your rights or assign them to someone else. Alternatively, you can breathe new life into your contract by updating your account before it gets canceled. Remember, any sale or assignment of rights must be done through a notarial act. Now let's move on to Section 6. This section gives the buyer the freedom to make advance payments without interest. This means that if you're a buyer and you've come into a windfall, you can choose to pay in advance any installment or even the full unpaid balance of the purchase price. And the best part is, you won't be charged any interest for doing so. In fact, it's even recommended that you have such full payment of the purchase price annotated in the certificate of title covering the property. Finally, Section 7 focuses on the nullification of any contract stipulations contrary to the law. This means that any agreement made that goes against the provisions of Sections 3, 4, 5, and 6 is null and void. This powerful clause is in place to protect you, the buyer, from any unfair or illegal contract stipulations. These sections 5 to 7 work together to ensure the buyer's freedom and protection in various scenarios. They provide you with options when you're facing difficulties, they give you the flexibility to make advance payments without interest, and they safeguard you from unlawful contract stipulations. So remember, the law is not just about rules and regulations, it's about providing protection and ensuring fairness in every transaction. These sections ensure the buyer's freedom and protection in various scenarios. Finally, Sections 8 and 9 close out the Maceda law. Section 8 is all about the validity of the law's provisions. In essence, it states that even if any provision of this act is held invalid or unconstitutional, it won't affect the other provisions. This means that each provision stands on its own, ensuring that the remaining provisions of the law remain enforceable and effective. Now, moving on to Section 9, it's about the implementation of the law. It indicates that the act takes effect upon its approval. This means that once the law is approved, it is immediately enforced, providing protection and rights to real estate buyers who are making installment payments. So there you have it, Sections 8 and 9 ensuring that the law remains robust and effective and indicating its immediate applicability. With these final provisions, the Maceda law ensures a fair and balanced system for real estate buyers in the Philippines. So what does the Maceda law mean for you as a real estate buyer? Simply put, it's your shield, your protection. It safeguards you against unfair conditions when buying real estate on installment. It ensures that even if you default on your payments after a 2-year period, you still have rights. You get a grace period to catch up without additional interest. And if the contract gets canceled, you're entitled to a refund of up to 90% of your total payments made. But the law also covers scenarios where less than 2 years of installments were paid. You get a minimum of 60 days of grace period from the date the installment became due. And before actual cancellation, you have the right to sell your rights or reinstate the contract. Remember, knowledge is power. Being aware of your rights under the Maceda law can make all the difference in your real estate buying journey.